tapped or clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to College Volleyball Weekly, not men's top 10, but the kickoff of Collegiate Beach Top 20. CVW Beach Top 20 coming in hot here for the 2025 season. First guest of the year. Truly a deep honor to have Lindsey Sparks of Cal Poly of the Mustangs, because we go way back, way back. And I'm surprised I haven't been able to talk to you, but Lindsey, it's such an honor to be able to chat with you today.
I'm super stoked to be here, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm going to start with a very easy question. How'd you get into volleyball?
Wow. Well, both my parents played. They played recreationally down in Huntington. Like I grew up as a kid going down to the beach, the Huntington Beach Pier, since I could walk. And ever since I could pick up a volleyball, I was trying to pepper. And just I got to grow up with like a million volleyball moms and dads trying to teach me and pepper with me. And yeah, so it's been a part of my life since I can remember.
The best ball shagger they could have was you, for sure.
Yeah, I was always begging. I was just begging to play games with them once I had thought that I had the skills to keep up with the old ladies.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you mentioned your family, and they're big time volleyballers, but you also have a couple of sisters who are playing. Can you share a little bit about them?
Yeah. So it's cool because I have two other sisters, and one of them, Emily played at CSUN and then at Long Beach, who we played against a ton last year. And they were kind of our rivals. So that was cool to have like a sister on another team in the NCAA. And then now I have my baby sister, Dani, with me at Cal Poly, and she and I were laughing the other day because I mean, obviously I'm a seventh year, if you didn't know that, which is crazy in itself. But when she was 12 is when I left for college, and now we're on the same team together.
It wasn't because you didn't pass your grades, you just had to extend your career a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm on my third degree now, so I think it was well worth it.
Well, your journey is interesting, and we're going to talk about how you finally landed at Cal Poly. But let's talk about your indoor season at Edison High School, which is where I met you. I had to look up some old stories, so I had to confirm some dates, but it was November of 2016 that I interviewed you for Flow Volleyball or Flow TV at the
Yes.
state championships. And their coach at the time, Matt Skolnick, was saying, Rob, you got to check out one of my setter opposite hitters here. She is a baller. And that he's referring to you. Um, how has your indoor game helped your beach game or vice versa?
I mean, tremendously. I was a setter and a right side attacker when we did run a 6-2. And just being a setter, I think opened my mind up to all the creative plays I could run, like both indoor and then taking that to the beach. Um, and as a setter, like obviously I'm biased, I think it's the best position out there. Um, but as a setter, you learn to read in a way that no other position has to read. You have to read shanked balls. You have to read the blocking scheme on the other side. You have to do so much visual and like creative work. And so I feel like I got to take a lot of that into my beach game. So I tend to run like true tempo offense on the beach, and
Mhm.
basically we're running like middle style one tempos, like from anywhere on the court, and it's been really fun.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting about that Edison High School team is you had a teammate, Hannah Fair, who was a senior that season, and she ended up going to UCLA, and you followed her path along there. And obviously, she continued playing beach from UCLA to, I believe, CUI or Concordia, but built a lot of great relationships through volleyball. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember, thinking back to that time because I was actually committed to play indoor volleyball and beach volleyball at Pepperdine.
I did not know that. That was one of my follow-up questions.
Yeah, I had committed as a little baby freshman and then had decided like going into my senior year that beach was like my one true love. Still loved indoor, but like beach was where I really wanted to put my focus. And so when I had the UCLA opportunity open up, and I had some friends like Hannah, and Cami Sanchez, like all my local friends going there, it was really cool because it just made sense.
Yeah, the Huntington Beach crew heading up to UCLA. Well, she was the Huntington Beach Oiler, though, right, Cami?
Yes, we were rivals in high school.
Now,
Always best friends.
like I was saying earlier, I'd met you doing the broadcast for the CIF Southern Section and state championship matches, but what I was really surprised at was I started working beach early on, and I ran into you and Abby Van Winkle, and we were talking is it either AVP first or AVP next, and of no shocker, you and Abby were playing in the final on Stadium Court, and that's what I was working, and I got really into following yours and obviously Abby and then the rest of the Van Winkle's careers. But um, at what point did you know that you're going to be as successful on the beach?
I wouldn't say I ever knew I was going to be successful. I did have success when I was young and I had a lot of fun playing. For me, it was always just so fun to play beach volleyball. And then when I won, it was just like a little cherry on top. Um,
Uh-huh.
and I think, yeah, it was always just like my enjoyment of the game driving it and like getting to play with my good friends. And I feel really lucky in that because I know some people like have a completely different experience and in like training really hard from a young age. But I never like necessarily trained while I was in high school. I just like played for fun and like um played with my parents and my family friends and just like yeah, it was just a really enjoyable experience.
And it showed because just whoever you're partnered with, just you had that X factor going with like the joy for the game, and you could see it in your partnerships when you were playing. Um, you'd mentioned that you were originally recruited to play indoor at Pepperdine. When did you feel like that you knew that beach was your thing? Like officially said, you know what, I'm going to just play beach. And then did that opportunity at UCLA come up immediately, or how did it all work out for you?
Yeah, I guess this is probably part of the story that not many people know. I was at a tournament during the summer going into my senior year.
Indoor or
Uh,
beach?
beach tournament. I was at
Okay.
a beach tournament, and this time I was still committed to play indoor volleyball. I had a scholarship for indoor, and then I was also going to play beach too for the time I was there. And somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, like I heard you decommitted from Pepperdine." And I was like, "What?" Like that's news to me. Like I had no idea what they were talking about. But long story short, there was another girl in my year who had recently been told by the coach, Scott Wong, that likely like she wasn't going to be able to play, or they were only going to let her play a few years of beach, maybe two, maybe three,
Hmm.
make the priority indoor. And so when people heard that, I think they assumed that he was also going to tell me that, which he did end up saying that to me.
Hmm.
Was like, hey, the focus is going to be on indoor and like maybe let's redshirt you for beach and stuff. And I think in that moment, I was like, I knew that that didn't feel right for me. I was like, oh
Hmm.
man, I really love beach. Like, I don't want to give up a year of beach just for indoor. So that's when I decommitted, and then it was crazy because at that time I had like established myself as a top beach player as a junior,
Hmm.
a juniors player. And so as soon as like word got out that I had decommitted from Pepperdine, like I was on the phone with Stein and Anna Collier and like
Hmm.
a bunch of different schools trying to figure it out. Because on top of that, it was so late in the game that there wasn't much money or scholarship left at the top
Hmm. Well, you as a pickup would be a great deal for anyone looking back. So,
schools.
but even before your collegiate career, and you were doing some USA stuff because, I work with a bunch of USA events as well, but you kept showing up on my feed competing for USA in the U19s, U21s, and you showed up with Devin Newberry playing some Norsekas, and
Yeah.
um, what an incredible experience for you. And watching the streams and seeing you play with different partners and be successful, you had this special knack for being in those clutch moments and delivering. But how did that international experience contribute to you as a player going into your collegiate career?
Yeah. So most of my international experience was with Devin Newberry. And those, I look back at those times, I'm like, damn, that was fun. Like, we're just like traveling to these incredible places. We went to Cuba, we went to Argentina for the Youth Olympics, we went to China for, I think it was U19 World Championships. And uh, like the experience of getting to play for your country, there's nothing like it. And then also to just meet people from around the world. Like I'm such a people person and I love to like chat people up and get to know everyone. So yeah, it was a really cool environment to be in. I hope to be in it again someday.
Oh, well, that's a question for later in the episode here. I'm curious how you and Devin connected. Was that kind of through the USA NTDP, or did you know each other from playing club or beach club or indoor club? Because she is a Sunshine Girl and you're a Seal Beach. Is that fair to
Yeah, I
say?
was a Seal Beach girl.
I'm curious how
Yeah.
that all came about.
Yeah, so I think it was either 13s and 14s. There's this tournament called the Best of the Beach, and I think it's still happening. AAU
Hmm.
Best of the Beach, Hawaii bikinis and everything.
Hmm.
But that tournament, I had you have to qualify for it. So you have to win one of the selected tournaments to get into that tournament. And I had qualified with, I think it was either Savvy Simo or Cami Sanchez.
Hmm.
And they both had already qualified with each other, leaving me the odd man out. And so I had to find a partner, and I had heard about this girl who was like up and coming, and she had like a whip of an arm. And I heard, she was sounded like a cool person and stuff, and she was a year younger. And so I called her up or texted her or whatever, and we played in that Best of the Beach tournament, and we ended up doing, I think we got like second or third in it being our first time playing together, and that's
Wow.
the start of everything with her.
Does not surprise me at all. No practicing, you show up and runner up, right? You go on the podium. And that's the thing. It's like, Lindsey, you've had so much success with so many different partners. What's the key? I mean, how are you able to pull that off?
Um, I think I just really like to connect with my partners, and I really care about like making them feel like confident on the court. But from a volleyball standpoint, like I can set a lot of different balls and I can run a lot of different plays, and I do bring like an aspect of like good ball control and stuff. I think really though it just comes down to like I really enjoy the game, and like I hope I make my partners enjoy the game too. And so when we're both enjoying it, like good things are bound to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just all the partners that I've tracked up until this point. So you got Leah Monkhouse, Devin Newberry, Abby, Hannah, Lexi, and Mac May at UCLA. You had Piper. You brought a freshman, Quinn Perry, this last year. You guys saw a ton of success, and you and Piper make it into the quarters of the Manhattan Beach Open this last summer.
Not quite
Or
quarters, but it
you got
was
a
a good
ninth,
fun
or was
run.
that
I
was
think
a well,
we won one
amazing
of our
run.
games in the main draw. We beat Kylie and Haley, and then we took the A team to three, but we didn't get very far in the tournament.
Oh, but you guys are playing well. Got off the broadcast, like, wait, you guys are on Stadium Court, and you guys
Yeah, it
created a
was
lot of
really
highlight
cool.
reels.
Nice.
But it's like you have this natural ability to really make your partner better. Um, I mean, there's definitely a great energy that you bring to the pair when you're on the sand together. Um, looking at this your NCAA career, you did see some great success at UCLA, but what made your teams so good, particularly in 2019, the Natty year. Do you
Yeah.
recall the vibe of that team, right? Of course, pre-COVID, of course.
Yeah. I mean, holy crap, that team was talented. We had the McNamara's at the ones, Sarah Sponsel and Lily Justine at the twos, Zana Muno and Abby Van Winkle at the threes, and then Leah Monkhouse and Savvy at the fours, and then me and Izzy at the fives. So from top to bottom, we were strong. And then layer on top of that, like we had this amazing natural leadership from the top down, where things were just like at practices, everyone was held to a high standard. Like freshmen just easily fell in line because we looked up to the older girls and they were so on it. Like I'll never forget like how serious and dialed in the McNamara's and Sponsel were at every practice, and that totally rubbed off on the rest of us.
Yeah. Well, that was a phenomenal team, and that team pretty much came back for 2020 for the start of that season. Um, I remember the last duel of the year being at Merle Norman Stadium, and they didn't allow fans into that particular duel because this thing called COVID was beginning to make its way
Yeah.
around. And I remember one of the dads saying, "Hey, I just got a text. The Utah Jazz and the Dallas Maverick game was shut down because someone tested positive."
Yeah.
And, that season, UCLA was on the run again. It was a USC, Pepperdine, and you guys in this tri-duel. But do you remember what you were going through and what you were thinking as COVID was beginning to make its way around the world?
Yeah, I mean, that was a weird time because right before that is when Kobe died too.
Hmm.
And I just remember like being devastated. And when our coaches, so the way it all happened when we found out that our season was going to be canceled is they the athletics department told our team that we needed to meet on the stairs at outside like our athletics facility.
Hmm.
And they just sat us down and were like, look, like we thought this was going to be like a 2 week shutdown, but this is it, like go home like now. And it was so
Mm.
surreal to just like I remember calling my parents and telling them, hey, like come pick me up from college, please. Like I gotta go. Like I can't be here anymore. Yeah, it was such a state of like uncertainty and like we actually did for a little while think that we were just gonna be back in a few weeks.
Yeah. Well, everyone was under that same assumption too. Oh, 2 weeks, we're back, and everything
Yeah.
will be back to normal. And a year and a half later.
And yeah.
Um, Well, even through all that and through your playing years and even at Cal Poly, you have this even-keeled countenance as well as this joyful countenance about you on the court. And you've been such a consistent leader. How do you develop something like that? Or how did you know? Or is it something naturally or innate in you?
It definitely wasn't innate. I would say I've always held myself to a high standard and like really value the character I bring and like the energy I bring to people. But I mean, in 7 years, like I went through a lot of shit. Like, to be honest, like I struggled with the eating disorder my freshman year. I struggled with other aspects of mental health throughout.
Hmm.
Um, Especially with like my knee and everything, the knee injury that took me out for 2 years. I just gained a lot of perspective, especially through the injury. And realized that like being on a volleyball team and like getting to compete in the NCAA is such like a privilege that I was
Hmm.
so grateful for. Um and so I also, in addition to that, like on the leadership aspect, I got to study for my master's. I got to study at UCLA, transformative coaching and leadership, where we studied leaders like Brene Brown and John Wooden, and the Patagonia founder, who's amazing. Like,
Amazing.
so, in combination, like with my experiences throughout college and some really difficult ones, and what I learned like through my master's program, like I feel like that's how I got to be where I'm at today, but it was
Hmm.
definitely not natural from the beginning.
Wow. Well, so you actually got a degree for doing it and got to use it in application for
Yeah,
your team.
yeah, it's
Do
really cool.
do you do a lot of reading on leaders and leadership on your own time?
I do. I'm a huge fan of Brene Brown. Just like, I mean, some of our main lessons are like seeing vulnerability as strength, just, having courage to help people and yeah. And then on the other side of that, I'm gonna botch his name, but Yvon Chouinard, like he's the
Mhm.
Patagonia founder, and I love what he has to say about leadership and running a environmentally sound company.
Yeah, that's some incredible stuff. You actually alluded to it, but so your final year of play at UCLA, you finished at 24-6 with Devon. But then you very alluded to your injury, which I wanted to see if you'd be willing to share a little bit about, how that came about. I was actually really shocked and found out that you were injured at a particular event, but I'll let you share what happened instead of me chat away.
Yeah, okay. So it started, so I finished that season up, and then my good friend Mari Molina from Long Beach State was like, "Hey, like you want to play in this grass tournament this summer?" I was like, "Hell yeah, like that sounds fun." Like I love playing
Mhm.
indoor, and like grass was somewhere between indoor and beach. So we went to Pottstown, Pennsylvania to play in this grass tournament.
Pottstown Rumble.
Yeah, it's so fun. But yeah, basically like we were doing so well. I still to this day think that we were gonna win. I think we got to like the quarters or whatever until oh yeah, when I got injured. And yeah, I tried to kick a ball that was behind me. I described the kick as like a helicopter donkey kick. It was really like wild and sporadic, and
Mhm.
I dislocated my kneecap and then tore off over a third of my cartilage
Oh,
all in one movement, which is so wild. And it was in the air, which my surgeon like could not believe at first.
yeah. Wow. I didn't realize it's that extensive of ninja. I just heard it was a knee injury. So,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
gosh. And that sidelined you for 2 seasons. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. My surgeon originally, when he saw my he saw my cartilage damage and said it was like the biggest one-time knockoff of cartilage he's seen, because usually your cartilage wears down
Hmm.
over time. It's mostly like an old people injury. You're like you're just like wearing wear and tear over time. But I had knocked it off in like one clean swipe. And so he basically told me that like my only chance at if I ever wanted to play again was to get this like relatively newer technology with it's a surgery that basically uses stem cells, like your own
Hmm.
stem cells, and it's a two-part procedure where they harvest some of the cells from your cartilage and then send them to a lab, um,
Hmm.
Cambridge, Massachusetts, and then basically they send this like gel-like cartilage back, and you put it into a scaffolding into like wherever you need it. So mine was on the back of my kneecap. And so yeah, so that cartilage takes a year to solidify, which
Hmm.
means like it was supposed to be like a year to a year and a half recovery. But with some complications and obstacles, it ended up being 2 years and 3 months and however many days, because I was counting.
Yeah. Did you know that you're going to come back and play volleyball, or were you ready to hang him up with that injury?
Um, I I I thought I knew I was gonna play volleyball the whole for like when I was told that, I was like, yeah, hell no, there's nothing getting in my way.
Hmm.
And then once like the year and 8 month mark hit, and I had been grinding with PT like 5 times a week, 2 hours a
Hmm.
day. Like I put my heart and soul into my PT. And I started to realize that like the recovery and mostly the outcome like might not be in my control, and that I might have to shift my goals to more just like getting back to regular life and trying to like be able to go up and down the stairs without pain, and like
Hmm.
like for so long I was just like hoping to be able to sit down on the toilet without being in pain. So
Wow.
my goals really had to shift, and I did. It's funny because I did end up kind of relieving myself of that idea that I was going to get back to playing volleyball. And it was like one of the hardest things I ever had to let go of.
Wow.
And yeah, around that time is when so it's like I let go, and then the universe put this awesome PT, Mark Roche,
Mhm.
into my life, and I had this like crazy transformation around the like around the 2 year mark,
Mhm.
where I started to get this hope back that I was going to be able to play again, and sure enough, he had me back playing in like 4 months.
Wow. Well, I got to share this story because I knew you were off on your injury,
Yeah.
and I got asked to work the 2023 Laguna Open, which
Oh,
from my understanding was your first event back. And I got to
first real one,
see
yeah.
you going through the qualies and was made it a point to watch your match and got your first kill on video. But
Yeah.
how is it like to get back competing? Because you're playing with Gebhard, right?
Megan
Megan
Gebhardt,
Gebhard,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
you guys were playing so well.
Thank you. Yeah.
But what was it like to be back on the court on the beach, knowing where your journey had taken you and the struggles you had to go through?
Yeah. I mean, I remember looking up to the sky during that game and like starting to tear up in my first game back, just like, there's no way I'm playing volleyball right now. There's no way. This is so freaking awesome. Like, I literally could not believe it. And I just played with so much joy. Um, I I was just like super proud from like where I came from and everything I gone through. Like volleyball took on a whole different meaning in my life.
And you didn't even shoot the ball. You actually crushed the first ball.
Yeah, I mean I had to, right? I was so excited.
That or launch it into the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those emotional moments. So, and it's funny because as I'm sitting watching the match, yeah, a younger junior player is like, "Oh my gosh, it's Lindsey Sparks. I used to watch her growing up." I'm like, "You're not very old, right?" She's
Aw.
not very old, but it's amazing because you've inspired some youth to play. Like no, definitely locally, they know who you are, the defense you played, and what you brought to the court. So I'm like, hey, I know Lindsey. Yeah.
Aw, thank you.
So, but it's exciting to witness that first tournament back and just see you playing. And actually, I think you had shared before that to me that you're going to a new place, new school, which is Cal Poly. And I
Yeah.
was like in disbelief, but excited for you at the same time. So, how did that all come about?
You want the real version?
Or not if it's going to expose some kind of illegal recruiting and I'm going to get like yelled at by coaches.
No, no. No, nothing like that.
Sure, let's hear the real version.
Okay. Basically, let's see. So, I was injured on my UCLA team going into my senior year, right?
Hmm.
So I worked that whole year through PT, and just like, I was grinding. I was expecting like to get back to volleyball during my 5th year at UCLA.
Hmm.
And basically, like in the fall, at the end of the fall quarter, I believe, is when I realized that I was nowhere near like volleyball. Like my knee was nowhere
Wow.
near being able to play volleyball, right?
Hmm.
And so I also had been struggling mentally like crazy. Like my coaches had me sit and watch, the 3 hour practices
Hmm.
every day, and it was driving me like insane. Like I was watching some people play a sport that I love so much but didn't think I would ever play again, and so it was a
Hmm.
really painful experience for me. And so basically I ended up leaving my team, and I just told my teammates like, look, I'll be your friend and your supporter, and it cheers so hard for you, but I can't do this like for myself right
Hmm.
now. I can't stay on this team at the time. So fast forward, I, let go of the idea of ever playing volleyball again. And then, I ended up seeing that new PT, and basically started to realize I'm like, oh crap, I might get to play volleyball again. This is so epic. Uh,
Wow.
And so my immediate thought was like, of course, like I'm gonna, go back to UCLA and I'm gonna play there.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go back to those, those courts that I freaking watched so many damn practices at, and I'm gonna play. And so I was in touch with the coaching staff over there, which it had now switched to Jenny.
Hmm.
Stein had left to Texas. And basically I was giving her updates of like how I was doing, like, I still at this point, like wasn't going to be able to play, or didn't know if I was actually going to be able to play volleyball, but it was trending towards that. So I
Right.
wanted to keep her in the loop. And long story short, like shortly before the Laguna Open, she denied me from going back to for my 6th year there. And it devastated me. Like I could not
Was that a
believe
compliance thing, or is that, I mean, like an academic or status thing, or
the coaches. So it was a Zoom meeting. And the coaches told me, they're like, I was waiting for the final decision for a couple weeks from them, like whether or not I was going to be allowed to go back and play for UCLA Beach Volleyball.
hmm.
And I was super stoked to get on this Zoom meeting, and I got on in the morning. Was like so excited to have it like finalized that I was going back. I was gonna, I had chosen the program that I would like to do if,
Hmm.
and basically I got a big fat no. And I was told, this is the only reason I was told is, as a first year coaching staff, we're not ready to take on a player like you.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so that's what I was left with. And like, I'll be honest with you, I was like super devastated. Like I couldn't imagine going anywhere besides UCLA, because that's where I
Hmm.
grinded in PT for so long. That's where my friends were, like all these different aspects. And I just like wanted to make the comeback there. And so give it a 24 hours devastation. And then I was like, wait a second. Like I have had always wanted to go to Cal Poly, like even during the recruiting process in high school. The program
Hmm.
wasn't quite as good, which is at the time, which is why I like chose UCLA, because I knew like how skilled of a program they were. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so it was a pretty quick flip, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can go to Cal Poly and I can live in SLO. Like two things that just sounded wonderful, like living in SLO. I'm just such a nature girl, and then getting the chance to play for Todd Rogers just was like, oh wait, this is so epic. And so pretty quickly I was like, okay, hey Todd, like
So did you reach out to him, or did he
I
reach out to
did.
you?
I reached out to him because he was recruiting me when I was a senior. So I had like a prior relationship with him
Hmm.
after, like in that period of time when I was talking to different schools after I decommitted from Pepperdine.
Hmm.
And so I talked to him, and I just told him like my experiences, and like, I told him the whole situation that had just gone down with the UCLA coaches and everything. And he just like welcomed me with open arms. And like one of the major things I was looking for was like I just really wanted to feel valued as a person first, and not just like an athlete, because I felt very like undervalued through my injury compared to like when
Hmm.
I was fully playing and like producing for the team at
Right.
UCLA. And yeah, he just welcomed me with open arms, and the team did too, and it was just like it was all just so meant to be. Like I felt so at home from the very first day.
I always wonder, like, I'm thinking if I'm in Todd, just like, whoa, I have like a stud coming my way. Even if you didn't reach out to him, I could see him. It's like, wait, why don't you come on out and do a couple of reps of the team here?
Yeah, well, that was the crazy thing, is like I I had talked to him and committed to playing before I had even played the Laguna Open.
Hmm.
And so he didn't even know that I could still play. He just trusted that I was gonna get better and be able to play, and I really appreciated that.
Wow. And that's, I remember is October 16th when you played your
Yeah.
match of 2023. And like, I'm be wearing green. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're going to Tulane?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm a Mustang. Yep.
Oh, that's so cool. That's such a, great story, though. I mean, because I obviously I believe you're the only graduate student on their roster. Is that correct?
I'm not the only graduate student. A couple of my good friends are also graduate students, but I'm the oldest graduate
Come on, you got to be like Mary Poppins. A lady never reveals her
student.
age.
Yeah. I don't feel as old as I am.
Did you feel like it'd be an issue trying to mesh with the rest of the team, being that you were more senior or have more experience than a lot of the girls?
I was definitely a little bit nervous, but I was just so excited to play volleyball again and so excited to meet everyone that it didn't I meshed with them like right away. Like the girls here, the girls on my team, like I don't know if Todd just recruits like nice people. Like I know he takes that into account, but
Hmm.
like I could not believe like the warmth and like the open arms they welcomed me with, and like it's so genuine, and I feel so lucky to be here.
Yeah. Well, it's showed in your results last year. 19-5 overall in the season. You played primarily the threes with Quinn Perry, who was a phenomenal young blocker.
As she is.
They took down 8 ranked teams in Long Beach State, TCU, Loyola Marymount, Cal, Hawaii, Stetson, Grand Canyon, and Arizona State. You earned the AVCA Top Flight Award and All Big West honors, all in your first season back on the sand after what could have been a career-ending injury. And great turnaround for you, Lindsey. And it's such a great success story.
Thank you. Yeah. Getting to play with Quinn this year was like this was my favorite year of college beach volleyball, which is crazy because I mean we won a natty my freshman year, which was that was an epic year.
Hmm.
Uh, but I was just so present and so grateful to be playing this year that like I tell everybody like every game of volleyball I get to play is like icing on a cake. Like it all feels like extra now because I literally thought like my career was over for quite some time. And I'm super excited for this coming year too.
Yeah. Side anecdote, I'll always remember Quinn's dad's name because of the way he introduced himself to me. I'm
Yeah.
I'm Matt Perry, like on Friends. I'm like, never gonna forget that.
Yeah. He's a legend.
There you go, Matt. Remember this on the podcast, okay? Um, so were you at all concerned having to play with a younger athlete in Quinn because you looked like you dialed in pretty much right off the bat in competition?
Yeah, I mean, credit to Quinn, like Quinn is a baller. She I remember one of our first game, it was actually like one of our first games. We were at UCLA, and we were playing LMU, no, sorry, Cal and UCLA that day. And when we were playing Cal, I think it was our first game there, and it was like Cal was technically supposed to beat us and everything. And they were a good squad, and the team that Quinn and I were playing was also good. And it was a tight match. And I remember in the middle of the match, I was like, "Hey, buddy, like, are you nervous?" And she's like, "No, not at all." Like, super convincing. I was like, "Wow, like a freshman, like she's got ice on her veins. Like, she's she's a competitor. And like to see that in a freshman, like I can only imagine where she's gonna be at in 4 years."
Yeah. The only better response would have been, "Hey, old lady, I got you." Okay. If you're
Yeah, literally.
um, historic season for the Mustangs. You brought them, you're part of a team that went to their fourth NCAA championships. But uh, I'll have to get this stat somewhere, but I don't think there are that many people have gone to the NCAAs with two different teams, and that's something that you've now
Yeah,
accomplished.
yeah, it's
How's it
really
feel to
cool.
be a history maker, not only for Cal Poly, but knowing now you have this, it just kind of validates that you are part of developing good teams.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like at UCLA, it's like they kind of expect national championships because I mean they have a national championship tally. Like same with USC. Like they're always compete. It's like UCLA, USC, Stanford, who is always competing for like the most national championships at their schools. And then like coming to Cal Poly, like Cal Poly does not have a single D1 national championship.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, a lot. They do have some D2 like in track and stuff. Um, but yeah, like it would
Not
just be
even soccer or because they've always been pretty decent soccer program and
not that I
baseball.
know of. I hope I'm not getting it wrong. But I really think that I like was either told that or like saw it in the trophy cases and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, you need to remind me of the question. Sometimes I forget.
No, it's a historic
Yeah,
accomplishment of being uh, on two different teams that advance to the NCAAs. So,
yeah.
um, but with
So
that success, I just was wanted you to share about it being
yeah.
one of the few people that has done that.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, like, I literally came into Cal Poly and was like, you know what? I just want to enjoy volleyball, like, have a good time with my team. Like, I wasn't really like in it for what you might say, like, running for the national championship from the beginning. Um,
Hmm.
I was just like stoked to play. And then I got to, in addition to that, also, I'm like way older than everyone. So I actually didn't know a lot of the players that were on the team when I got here. And so
Hmm.
I got here and I remember my first couple weeks of practice, I was like, well, crap, like we're actually really good. Like we could pull some crazy, like, I don't know if anybody knows this, but like I'm like, we're really good. Like we could pull something off this year. And we were ranked 20th at the start of season.
Yep. You
Um,
guys rose so fast this season.
and I think we knew how good we were. But it was like every week, like proving to everyone else how good we were. So we were just like chipping off teams, and like we really fostered like a sense of belief. Like we were going for the national championship last year. Like we believed in ourselves and I mean it took us to third, so I'm excited for this year.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that, and at the NCAA championships, you dropped Arizona State, took down perennial East Coast powerhouse Florida State before falling to the eventual four-time national champion USC in the semi. And how did you feel about that postseason experience and being able to do that with those girls?
It was so nuts. Like we believed in ourselves, but to confirm it with a win against a Florida State, like when you think about it, like programs like Cal Poly or Long Beach State, or, there's a lot of programs in like the top 5 to 10 area that have literally never beat like a UCLA, USC, and FSU. And so for us, that was like a big monkey to get off our back. It was like, all right,
Hmm.
we just took down a top 4 team. What's next? Like, and throughout the season, we got really close to taking down UCLA and we got really close to taking down USC, and we just felt like we were nipping at, nipping at them behind. Uh, but yeah, I think it would be really interesting to see. Like, we have some confidence in ourselves now. We've got some crazy, like, talented freshmen this year. And everyone's just grown and matured in their game a lot.
Hmm. Now you played with one other partner this season, I believe. I don't have it available.
Yeah,
Uh,
Logan Walter.
Another freshman, right?
Another freshman. Yeah, I take care of the freshmen.
And she is a great athlete. I saw her at the Fall Pairs in
Yeah.
Manhattan. Like, where's Lindsey? She's like, don't you want to see me play?
Yeah, she's a total stud. Oh my gosh, she grew a lot over the summer.
Um, Now you'd mentioned, and it's a phenomenal stat and his history line for Cal Poly, but you finished third in the final AVCA national rankings. It's the highest in program history. Quite the accomplishment. And I mean, Todd's got you girls humming, and he got you all figured out. But how's it like playing for someone of such caliber coaching? He just knows the mental, the physical, the competitive, and he's like the complete package.
Yeah, it's actually so nuts. I cannot believe, like, in practices, sometimes I'm like, damn, Todd Rogers is coaching me. Because he's just such a normal guy. Like he's so cool. Um, and like when we're doing defensive practices, sometimes it's like he just knows so much more than everybody else. And we almost have to like ask him to like articulate more because he's just got defense down to a science. And so getting to learn from him is just like epic. Like he's taught me more on defense than I could even imagine learning in the like more than I had learned in the 20 to 23 years before.
Wow.
Yeah.
I believe it. I mean, I just see him the way he coaches his athletes, over the years since Collegiate Beach Volleyball, since he took the position, he
Yeah.
just had such an excellent mentoring attitude towards the athletes.
Yeah, he's like so technical and then also like he's always challenging you to like think outside of the box, which is something I love. Like I love the creativity aspect of beach volleyball and like he does not want us to be like he calls it cookie cutter athletes. Like he wants us painting outside of the lines and just like owning the game in like a unique way.
Yeah, I'm curious because you say that. I'm like, what came to mind is so he wants you to be your own style player, but apply what he's teaching you to it. Is that fair to say?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we've got some cool stuff in store. Like I'm not gonna say it on here for this, like as far as like offensively and stuff. But yeah, I mean, he recognizes how the game is changing, as far as like jump setting goes and like all the different tempo plays and like all the beautiful things that you can do with, two people on a court, and an offense and on defense too. But yeah, he's like why not like be bold and why not
Yeah,
try new things because like the way that we will beat people is if we are bold and creative. Like USC, they recruit really physical talented players, but they do play like a little bit more vanilla style volleyball. And so yeah, we're gonna experiment and see where a little funky style of play can take us.
well, you got to write a book, Todd Rogers for Dummies, and they can
Yeah, he really
interpret.
should. Yeah, we've told him that he should write a book, but I don't think he ever will. He's like not really about he doesn't love attention, it seems.
That I could see also, but it's he's doing some great things, and he's really able to get you girls on the mission. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, the 2025 season is just gosh like 3 weeks away, and as you mentioned earlier, your youngest sister Dani will be sporting the green with you. You excited, or could you end up playing with her at one point during the season? Like, what are the happenings here?
I would love to play with her one game this season, but unfortunately we are both defenders, so it would have to be like I guess pretty easier like an easier, less physical game. But yeah, it is so cool to be on the same team as her. I'm like proud of her every day. I just like watch her play and I'm like just every time she does something good, I'm like so stoked for her. And I just want to see her succeed. And I know she will. She's gonna do big things for the program for the next 4 years. And I'm super stoked to see like where she goes. She's nuts on defense.
Yeah. Oh, not doesn't surprise me at all. All the times I've seen you play, you've been so clutch. When the match is on the line or if the set's on the line, you're always there, clutch dig, or great shot, or just jam one down the line and point winner, and you're going extras and you win it. So
Nice.
I think it runs in the family. So
Yeah.
um, you kind of answered this, but I'm going to just ask it plainly for listeners
Yeah.
and viewers. But how do you feel the Mustangs are going to be this 2025 season?
I think we're gonna come out and play a style of volleyball that nobody's ever seen on the women's side. Um, we talk a lot about being process based and just
Hmm.
like finding the joy in sport and really creating a good team culture. And I'm just excited to see where we can take it. I know I believe in us, and I know my teammates and coaching staff and our athletic department. We've got everybody behind us, and it's
Yeah,
really special. Yeah, we believe in some big things happening this year.
yeah. I was going to try and end on one of these two questions. And hearing you talk, I feel like I need to ask both of them, just because you have so much volleyball experience and life experience behind you. So I'll start with this one. What would you tell your 18-year-old self as you reflect on the entirety of your volleyball career?
Oh man. Um, gosh, my 18-year-old self was so naive in a good way. But like, I guess I would tell my 18-year-old self to just like truly recognize that everything happens for a reason. There's like no coincidences out there. Like, I feel so grateful now for the way everything went down as far as like what I went through during college, the knee injury, like just this perspective, everything, like all my experiences gave me. Um, right now, like I really trust the process and like lean into this idea. It's called, have you heard of amor fati?
No, I haven't. No.
It's just basically I think it's a Latin phrase and it's love of fate. And so I'm not super religious, more so spiritual. But this
Mhm.
phrase has really guided me in like loving what happens to you and accepting everything that happens to you just the way it is like the most freeing and cool thing ever. And so I wish my little 18-year-old self could grasp that, but I really don't think I could have grasped that at that age and without the experiences I've had.
Oh, good stuff. And this next question may be the same, may be related, but it's geared more towards like the people coming down the journey. And that would be, how would you encourage younger players as they pursue collegiate beach volleyball careers?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, when I think about my sister, she was just a senior in high school last year. I was just so glad that she was coming to Cal Poly. Because I think more importantly, like more important than everything else is like choosing a program where the coaches really care about you. And the team culture, like you want to go into a good team culture. And so asking those questions and like learning about the different cultures that are out there, because there are other good team cultures, of course.
Mhm.
But don't just go for the glory of going to a USC or UCLA. Like go somewhere where they're gonna build you up. And like sure, it's really cool to win a national championship, but like yeah, like I've realized that I much more appreciate getting to be on a team with like an incredible team culture and feeling valued and just like really enjoying the experience is like the most important thing. So wherever that's going to be for you as a call or as a high school player, wherever
Mhm.
you think might match up with you, because I remember like when my knee injury happened and stuff, I was like, wow, like I was really grateful that I ended up at a school that I enjoyed even outside, like when I couldn't play volleyball. So that's a good thing
Mhm.
to consider too, is like, would I enjoy this school and would I enjoy living in this place if, if your sport ceases to, you're not able to do it anymore.
Right. All excellent stuff. And I appreciate your time, Lindsay. And this is Lindsay Sparks of Cal Poly Beach Volleyball, starting a 2025 campaign here in a few weeks. And thank you so much for your time and sharing everything over an hour, which is amazing. I'm so excited. And I'm surprised I haven't done this earlier, but Lindsay, thank you so much. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you, but I don't think you come south too often. So I'm going to have to go up to Cal Poly for
Yeah.
like the challenge that you guys have with all the big teams up there.
Yeah, definitely come to COE. That's my favorite tournament of the year, besides Natty's, of course. But yeah, thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Be sure to follow Lindsay on social, or at least Cal Poly Beach on Instagram, and see what they're doing. But expect them to be in that top 20. I'd even say top 10 for sure. And I'd even go on a limb and say top five. So it should be a good season for the Mustangs. So thank you again, Lindsay, and looking forward to seeing you in person.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.